What, like 15 seconds of music never hurt anybody. I mostly do it now just because it bothers him. This is Clutch with Keon Rose on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Talk about a few things today. Continued conversation about the changing of the world. We're in a different world. And some organizations are dying. Specifically, your cable company. They're dying. This is the beginning of the end. Okay, this is I have jumped to conclusions before. I thought Tennessee was going to make the playoff. I'll see how they do against Ohio. I'm not backing off my pick, but I'll see how they do against Ohio because I'm really scared about that. Really scared about that. Anyhow, your cable company, they're dying. NFL games are now going to be streamed on Twitter. So we're going to see how that goes. The first ever live streamed NFL game on a social media site on Twitter. So we're going to see how that goes. And I'm very excited about it. I'll see if my computer can even handle that kind of thing. My computer is a very, very old machine that is behind quite a few updates. And I'm trying to fix it and figure out how to make it work better. But at the moment, things like when Twitter updates really, really quickly, I have problems. It updates really, really quickly, and then like my computer's just like, no, we can't do it. So it'll be interesting to see how my Twitter experience is going to be. It's probably not going to be as good as yours if you're interested in watching football. And I'm mostly excited about what the numbers are going to be. Are people going to tune into this out of the novelty of it being Twitter? Are people going to tune into this just because we have to have our football? I don't know. It's the Bills and the Jets. It's not a great game, right? The Jets are one of the better teams in that division. They somehow can't seem to be able to beat the Buffalo Bills. So there's some intrigue there. Two great defenses going at it. I really like what Todd Bowles has done with the Jets ever since he's been there. I don't think he still has the personnel that he needs to execute the defense quite at the level that he'd love to, but I think he's a great coach, and I'm willing to see how far it is that he can go. But to me, a very fascinating thing, a very interesting thing about this whole Twitter situation is, will we have more of a focus on conversation than we usually have? Because like when stuff happens on TV, when stuff happens on the NFL, in the NFL or in the NBA or Major League Baseball or what have you, people take to Twitter anyway. Is it going to be more people because we're already there? You know that Twitter hopes so. I can't wait to see how this turns out. It's like a giant science experiment. But I think that this is the beginning of the end for your cable company. TV is going to have to change or die. Radio had to change and die. Everybody says, well, radio's dead. Radio evolves all the time. Radio used to have dramas. Before we had TV, your favorite show was a radio show. You had the Lone Ranger. There's Superman on the radio. I mean, people before there was TV, your favorite show was a radio show. And then TV came out and everyone went, oh, radio's going to die. No, it didn't. It evolved. It evolved, became a place where you found music. Then the internet shows up and everyone goes, oh no, radio's going to die. It evolves again. We have talk radio. Radio continues on over and over and over again. It's not going to evolve. We're not going to not evolve. And I think TV is at that impasse now. TV has got to evolve or it's going to die. And I don't know if it will. And live sports are the biggest draw that TV has at the moment. And if the internet takes live sports away from TV, what does it have? So all of that stuff is really, really interesting to me. So we'll keep an eye on that tonight. I will probably be watching the game in some capacity. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. So I wanted to talk about some comments from Butch Jones and from Dabo Swinney about the national anthem and players protesting during the national anthem. As you might be aware, the national anthem, protesting during the national anthem, not something that college players have to deal with, because college players are in the locker room when the national anthem plays, which is what Butch Jones told the media. So it's not an issue for him. And Butch Jones, the answer, right? He gave us the most boring possible answer to that question. And one of the interesting things about Butch Jones is that he was like, I don't know that I have a problem with it, but it's not up to me. It's not a choice that I have to make. Dabo Swinney, being, more prone to actually talking, more prone to saying things, to answering questions, and, of the two guys, definitely more prone to liking to hear the sound of his own voice. Dabo Swinney went on like a 10-minute diatribe about it. And look, I really like the stuff that Dabo Swinney said about loving your neighbor and how this world would be a better place if everybody loved their neighbor, regardless of what color they were, what creed they were. Just love the person regardless. Dabo Swinney, his words, he meant well when he said them, right? And he talked about Martin Luther King and how Martin Luther King's dream is kind of being realized because you do have black quarterbacks and black coaches and black people in positions where they would never have been before. We have a black president. And all of this stuff, these are great points. But in a lot of ways, it seems quite delusional. Dabo Swinney is describing an America that doesn't exist. He is describing an America that sounds great, but I'd love to live in that America, where everybody just loves their neighbor regardless of skin color and regardless of creed. That's not the America that we live in. Okay? We're not built that way. That's not just the America. And because I think we give America all of this blame for we're not living in the most tolerant place on earth. Yeah, neither is the rest of the world. That's not a world that we live in. It's not like if you hop across the pond and go to France, you're going to go to a more loving, open place where everybody loves everybody and skin color and religion and all of these things are not an issue. They're an issue everywhere on this planet. I mean, they've done studies, scientists have, sociologists specifically, have done studies where if you divide people based on arbitrary things like whether or not you are an accountant and pit people against each other, they'll hate one another just because of that. I don't know if you've ever been to an event, a gathering of some kind, like our church does, get together sometimes and we'll play games or whatever. And every now and then you'll have a game where you've got to divide people, and people get divided up basically alternately and randomly. You are a 1, the person next to you is a 2, the next person is a 1, 2, and you alternate until the teams are divided. You feel better about the 2s if you're a 2 than if you're a 1. And that's something arbitrary. That's not skin color. That's not something that was decided at birth. That was something that got decided 5 minutes ago. And people get really testy about that stuff. Like, some games get really intense. And that's just people counting off 1 and 2. That's not the religion you were raised to believe your entire life or the skin color you were born with. There is no difference. You've actually seen that there's no difference between 1 and 2. People still get really chippy about that stuff. I mean, we're all sports fans. If you root for Georgia, nothing makes you more sick than the sight of Tennessee orange. If you root for Tennessee, that crimson really doesn't sit well with you. And those are just sports teams. Those are just sports teams. We're not on equal footing when it comes to race because we don't treat each other very well about sports teams. How about every year somebody goes into Oakland to watch the Raiders and you're a Chargers fan or a 49ers fan or whatever else have you, and some dude gets stabbed to death in the parking lot over a football game. So yeah, no, we're not in a place that's designed for that level of just we're going to be equal because we say we are. No, we're not. It's something that we have to think about consciously all the time. And the way we're going to think about this stuff is awareness. Like, awareness to me is half the battle. If there are problems that you have that you don't know you have, or you simply refuse to acknowledge that you have, you cannot solve them, and you will never solve them. We could not try and battle cancer until we knew what it was and what it did and how it worked. And how cancer is not an invading virus, but it's your own cells turning against you. You've got to understand that before you can try and treat it. Why do you think nobody in America is dying of polio anymore? We became aware of it, we understood it, and then we beat it. You cannot beat something without awareness, which is what these protests are about. And people can say stuff like, well, you've got to go about it the right way. You've got to do the right thing. Don't kneel during the anthem. Go to protests. People go to protests. When was the last protest you were aware of? What was the last protest you paid attention to? What was the last protest they put in the news? Because they're putting this one in the news. The problem with people saying that you shouldn't protest by taking a knee during the national anthem is that this protest has been more effective than the ones that have been done put together. I like to bring out Carmelo Anthony as my example because he's a guy that has actively organized protests. He does the protest the quote unquote right way. He does the protests in a way that doesn't offend anybody. And you know what? It doesn't work. Nobody is listening to Carmelo Anthony's protests because they don't rattle the cage. They don't step on enough toes to get your attention. Hey, America's not working. We have to fix it. We could march down the street in Chicago. We could march down the street in DC, in Portland, in Chattanooga. But if that doesn't rattle the cage enough, where's the awareness? And if we are not aware, how can we solve the problem? Because right now we're in that denial phase. Where there is a problem, we're all mildly aware of the problem, but we're not interested in really trying to solve it. We're not even interested in really being aware of it. We'd rather turn the issue into, well, that person's against the veterans. That person's against the cops. Nobody's against the veterans. Nobody's against the cops. Like, you poll people about the veterans and the troops and the police, who actually hates the veterans? I've never met anybody who actually does. You're not trying to disrespect them. You're trying to draw attention to America, not as we want it to be, not as the flag is supposed to be, but as America actually is. And if you look at your face in the mirror, America, if you look at your face in the mirror, Chattanooga, we've got some dirt on our face. We do. And we've got to clean it up. And I don't have a problem with somebody taking a knee during a national anthem to get that point across. Okay, like, just because things are better than it used to be doesn't mean that they're as good as they can get. Why would you stop halfway? One of my favorite TV shows is Breaking Bad. And there's a point in the show where one of the characters is talking to Walter White, and he tells him a wonderful word of advice that I've actually taken to heart in my actual life because it's very important. Never take a half measure when a full measure will do. Never take a half measure when a full measure will do. We have a black president. We have black coaches in the league. But there are still black people being shot by the police. So why do we stop? Why should we stop here? Why should we stop here? It's not as good as it can be. Why would you stop? There is no reason to stop here. You keep talking about it. You keep drawing awareness to it until it gets fixed. I'm never going to stop. Okay? We're going to keep pounding that rock until it breaks. I want to live in an America where I don't worry about driving alone because I'm a young black guy and the police are out there. I like the police, but I don't want to worry that the police don't like me. And please don't blow up my Twitter again about cops, all right, and how all of them aren't bad. Yes, I get that. Most cops aren't evil. But if enough cops are shooting black people, that this is an issue, we've got a problem. In fact, I would even go so far as to say, if we've got enough cops shooting innocent people, we've got a problem. And I don't know how else you draw attention to that issue in a way that's both peaceful, in which you're not harming anybody. Because look, you know what else got your attention? The riots. The riots get your attention too. But you know what stinks about the riots? Stuff's getting looted. Stuff's getting burned to the ground. We're definitely missing the point with the riots. Nobody's rioting. You're just taking a knee. Nobody's burning the flag. Nobody's cursing. Just taking a knee. It's peaceful. It's absolutely peaceful. And the thing is, the further we get away from somebody, the further we get away, the more we want to box people into this paradigm where they were somehow more kind and more loving than we remember them. More, or than they actually were. We remember them as more kind and more loving. And people remember Dr. King as being this kind, soft-spoken person, like Dr. King, but as America actually is. And if you look at your face in the mirror, America, if you look at your face in the mirror, Chattanooga, we've got some dirt on our face. We do. And we've got to clean it up. And I don't have a problem with somebody taking a knee during a national anthem to get that point across. Okay, like just because things are better than it used to be doesn't mean that they're as good as they can get. Why would you stop halfway? One of my favorite TV shows is Breaking Bad. And there's a point in the show where one of the characters is talking to Walter White, and he tells him a wonderful word of advice that I've actually taken to heart in my actual life because it's very important. Never take a half measure when a full measure will do. Never take a half measure when a full measure will do. We have a black president. We have black coaches in the league. But there are still black people being shot by the police. So why do we stop? Why should we stop here? Why should we stop here? It's not as good as it can be. Why would you stop? There is no reason to stop here. You keep talking about it. You keep drawing awareness to it until it gets fixed. I'm never going to stop. Okay? We're going to keep pounding that rock until it breaks. I want to live in an America where I don't worry about driving alone because I'm a young black guy and the police are out there. I like the police, but I don't want to worry that the police don't like me. And please don't blow up my Twitter again about cops, all right, and how all of them aren't bad. Yes, I get that. Most cops aren't evil. But if enough cops are shooting black people, that this is an issue, we've got a problem. In fact, I would even go so far as to say, if we've got enough cops shooting innocent people, we've got a problem. And I don't know how else you draw attention to that issue in a way that's both peaceful, in which you're not harming anybody. Because look, you know what else got your attention? The riots. The riots get your attention too. But you know what stinks about the riots? Stuff's getting looted. Stuff's getting burned to the ground. We're definitely missing the point with the riots. Nobody's rioting. You're just taking a knee. Nobody's burning the flag. Nobody's cursing. Just taking a knee. It's peaceful. It's absolutely peaceful. And the thing is, the further we get away from somebody, the further we get away, the more we want to box people into this paradigm where they were somehow more kind and more loving than we remember them. Or than they actually were. We remember them as more kind and more loving. And people remember Dr. King as being this kind, soft-spoken person. Like, Dr. King is a guy who wanted to rattle the cage, who wanted to rattle the system, who wanted to rattle the status quo, but he wanted to do so peacefully. His only stipulation to all of this was nonviolence, civil disobedience. Disobeying what most of America thinks is the right thing to do in the name of justice is fine and should be fine. It's how democracy works. It's gross and it's messy. But protesting, if you do it properly, if you know what it is you're talking about, if you've given it thought, it works. And if he's not blatantly disrespecting the flag, I think that the blatance there has to be there. Like when you're talking about the NBA and the NBA tries to figure out like what kind of foul a thing is, like there's a foul and there's a flagrant foul. You get ejected for flagrant fouls. They're trying to see if you did it on purpose. Like if your intent was to harm. Like you can foul somebody on purpose and have it not be a flagrant foul. Like if I hit you on your arm while you're going up for a shot and I do it on purpose to stop you from shooting, that's not a flagrant. Because while my intent was to foul you, my intent wasn't to harm you. Now, if you go up for a shot and I body slam you and pile drive you into the ground, well, now my intent wasn't just to stop you, it was to hurt you. Someone's taking a knee during the national anthem. You've got to give it that little bit of nuance. It's not stand for the flag or you're disrespectful. Because there are actual signs of disrespect that we have. It can't just be stand or you're disrespectful. There's got to be shades of gray in this stuff because there's shades of gray in everything. It's like a flagrant foul. The difference between a flagrant foul and just your typical average, everyday run-of-the-mill foul. My intent is to stop you, not to harm you. You take a knee during the national anthem, it doesn't look like your intent is to disrespect everybody. It's to draw attention. It's to draw attention. And the players that raised their fist in the air during the national anthem instead of taking the knee found a different way to do it. But people going, the national anthem's not the time to make a political statement. The national anthem itself is a political statement. What other time is there? Because I'm telling you, if Colin Kaepernick doesn't sit down during the national anthem and decides during the week to talk about race relations, you don't care and you're not listening. And that's his whole point. You don't want someone to do something as drastic as take a knee during the national anthem. Open up your ears and start having a conversation with the people around you, especially those minorities and people around you that feel marginalized. That's the only way you're going to change anything. You can't change it any other way. And Dabo Swinney, he had a lot of nice things to say. He just described an America that doesn't actually exist. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose.
Wars come and go, but my soldiers stay eternal.
Now you can listen to Hot News Talk Radio anywhere streaming live at Noogaradio.com. That's Noogaradio.com.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Shooter Supply, any A-frame, 20% off, 10% off, 5% off, everything in the store's on sale. 5, 10, 20, September sales days. Shooter Supply, handguns, carry permit classes, ammo and gear. You get 5% off of firearms, 10% off of ammo and gear, 20% off of all handgun carry permit classes. Shooter Supply, September sales days. But you gotta get here now. It's ending soon. Shooter Supply, in the A-frame. We're on Hickson Pike, right around the corner, right next to the Holiday Inn Express. Shooter Supply and Indoor Range. Shooters-range.com. Order online. Shooters-range.com. September sales days.
Hi, this is Mike at Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell, featuring over 6,000 square feet of unique and everyday wholesale items discounted at, get this, 50 to 75% off of retail, from new and pre-owned tools to chainsaws and auto accessories. Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
This is Mike at For the Record at Northgate Mall. We're the largest complete record store in town. We sell old and new vinyl records, celebrity posters, music posters, and we are the largest in town. Come see us.
Expect fair skies to continue through the nighttime. Overnight lows into the upper 60s to near 70. Now for your Friday, lots of sunshine, continued hot and dry. Highs soaring into the lower 90s. Still mainly dry through Saturday as well, with highs 90 to 92. This forecast is brought to you by Hamilton Medical Center in Dalton, featuring their Neurosurgery and Spine Center, now open in Calhoun, Georgia. Stop putting up with back pain. For more, 706-529-9041. And I'm Storm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Donations are pouring in for a family who lost their 2 children and their house in a fire on Caribou Lane in Chickamauga. Donations are coming in at the school on Highway 27, Saddle Ridge Elementary, where different clothing and foods, toiletries, everything is being donated to this family at that school. Even cards are being given by children for this family. A new sexting scandal striking Bradley County, this time at Walker Valley High. A teacher has been suspended. Jonathan Dykes is accused of sending inappropriate texts to a student. He's been suspended without pay, pending an internal investigation. Someone saw fit to disturb the dead at a Georgia cemetery where World War II veterans' grave marker has been stolen. The brass marker was stolen sometime a few days ago, within the last few days. The scrap value for the marker is only $15 to $10, but the value to the family is priceless. If you know where this grave marker may be, please call the Walker County Sheriff's Office. If it's going on in Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hear it live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Buckle up your seatbelt, boys and girls. Week 3 of the SEC. It's going to be fun. Last week, we had some games that were interesting, but they weren't supposed to be. We call those heart attacks. If you're a Georgia fan and you were watching that Nichols game, Not exciting. Not exciting. It's all in the perception of the thing. If you expect the game to be close and it's close, that's exciting. If you expect the game to be a woodshed beating and it's close, then that's a heart attack. But that's not actually exciting. And Tennessee fans know that whole Appy State debacle, but then they turned it around versus Virginia Tech. But they didn't turn it around by fixing any of the problems that Tennessee has. They played a Virginia Tech team that's young. Tennessee is going to play Ohio this week, which is, to be fair, not a much more interesting game than Virginia Tech. In Virginia Tech for them, Tennessee had the one interesting week 2 game. Tennessee against Ohio. Tennessee better blow them out too. They have to. I mean, you're going to have to put the fans at ease. Because here's the thing, week 1 was so terrifying, was so counter all our expectations for Tennessee this season. That to get that goodwill back, Tennessee's going to have to win a few games big. They have to win Virginia Tech big. You win Ohio big, you're going to put people at ease. If you can somehow put the ball in the air, you'll put people at ease even more. But the more I watch Tennessee, and you go back and watch those games, and I have some of them recorded. You go back and watch Tennessee. I really was hard on Joshua Dobbs after the Appy State game. I really was. I was very hard on the guy. And I want to apologize. I want to rescind what I've said. Joshua Dobbs has played incredibly, just by the numbers, just by the stats. And you can find a lot of them at seccountry.com, which is a great football blog. Joshua Dobbs, just by the numbers, has played incredibly when he's had time in the pocket to throw. He completes over 70% of his passes. His quarterback rating is something like 120 when he has time to throw. He doesn't always have time to throw. Josh Dobbs under pressure is terrible. But you know what? All quarterbacks under pressure are terrible. By the virtue of what pressure does to a quarterback, it forces him to move out. He's throwing with bad form. He can't see downfield as well, or maybe not at all, depending on whether or not he's got to turn his back to the defense to escape. All of these things happen. Teams are getting to Josh Dobbs way too easily. And it's one of those things that needs to be corrected, or it's gonna spell doom for Tennessee this season. Like you're a Tennessee fan, you still have that feeling in your gut, that little bit of reservation that I don't know if I can put my whole heart into this season because I don't know if this team's going to break it. And I can't blame you. I can't blame you. I don't think that anybody wants to see Tennessee struggle besides, all the usual suspects that want to see Tennessee struggle. Everybody wants to see Tennessee struggle if you don't like Tennessee. But like if you are at least impartial to Tennessee, if you are an outside fan of the SEC, like I am, I did not grow up in SEC country. And so having moved here, I am a fan of the SEC without liking any one particular team over another, though I always hate Alabama. That is just a personal preference. There is something about Tennessee being good that makes the SEC fun again. To me, Bama's got to be good just because they're historically good. Not the SEC without Bama being good. It is the SEC without Tennessee being good, but it's just better when Tennessee's good. I think Georgia has to be good. I mean, those are the big ones to me. I like it when LSU is good also. So not necessarily this season, but I like it when LSU's good. And so I don't know if you're a Vols fan, how much heart you put into this team until you see those 4 games. And you know which 4 games I'm talking about. The Florida, Texas A&M, Georgia, Alabama stretch of games. I think actually did Georgia A&M in the wrong order. It's Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M, Alabama in a row. That's not fun. And you might lose one or two of those games. And you're allowed to lose one or two of those games. What you are not allowed to do is lose to Florida. You can't lose to them because you lost to them for 11 years. It's time to stop that. Cut that crap out. You're not allowed to lose to them. And you're not allowed to lose consecutive games. Just can't do it. I understand that you're going to want to beat Georgia. You're going to want to beat Georgia. And I was worried about losing to Georgia because Georgia's, to me, the other team in the SEC East that can really get in Tennessee's way of getting to this SEC title game. Tennessee has got to win the East. If they lose to Georgia, that really puts them behind the 8 ball. But Georgia might not make it through some of their other games unscathed. I don't know if Georgia makes it through the season without 3 losses, just because this is not the strongest Georgia team we've ever seen, mostly because of the question marks at quarterback. Jacob Eason is still a freshman, which means some weeks he's going to look like a freshman. And Nick Chubb looked glorious against North Carolina, and Nick Chubb didn't look so great against Nichols. But Nick Chubb came back from one of the worst knee injuries you or I have ever seen. So Nick Chubb's not going to look like Heisman Trophy candidate Nick Chubb every week. He's just going to look like Heisman Trophy candidate Nick Chubb some weeks. It's just hard to be that after coming back from a complete tear of your ACL. Is one of the more gruesome knee injuries ever. Like, I saw the replay of it. I didn't watch the game live. I saw the replay of it. And I almost lost my lunch. And I never wanted to see it again. Which I ended up seeing it again anyway because I had to watch the replay of the game. But I heard about the knee injury, didn't know how bad it was, watched the game, and almost lost it. It's crazy that he even came back from that as fast as he came back from that. There's no way he's going to look 100% every single week. As he shouldn't. He's a human being. I mean, there's some weeks he doesn't look human. Some weeks Nick Chubb looks like a monster. But if you have the off week where he doesn't, that's to be expected. I didn't expect it to be last week against that school. The school with the M. Bison mascot. They didn't expect it to be them. But all things considered, you just can't expect it and rely on it every week. So Georgia, they've got some tweaking to do to get that offense just right. Tennessee could still win the East without beating Georgia, is my point. You can lose to Georgia. You just can't lose to Georgia if you lose to Florida. Season's over. Pack it in. You better not lose to Florida, though, under any circumstances. They're going to run Butcher Jones out of Knoxville. Run him right out of Knoxville. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. This upcoming week is going to tell us a lot. Tennessee, unless Tennessee loses, it's not going to tell us much. Tennessee just has to beat Ohio. And don't beat them bad, but like multiple touchdowns. It's got to be a multiple touchdown victory. It can't be a close game, or we're going to all be in a panic again on Monday. That's the state of Tennessee football. We take it week to week. But you've got Vanderbilt versus Georgia Tech, which can be fun. I really wanted to see some higher expectations and some higher improvements out of Vanderbilt, but I didn't really see it. I haven't seen it this season. As far as their offense goes, that defense is still solid, but that offense, I really thought that they had figured it out coming out to the end of last season, and maybe I might have jumped the gun on that. Here's probably the best game has the possibility to be the best game of the season in the SEC so far. Alabama, 3:30 on Saturday versus Ole Miss on CBS. And Ole Miss has beaten Alabama 2 years in a row, having a chance to make it 3. Not very many people have ever done that to Nick Saban. I don't think Nick Saban's going to allow for it, but I don't think it's up to Nick Saban because Nick Saban's got a whole new team. Nick Saban has got a team that features a freshman quarterback, a young running back, and a new center, and his offensive line looks disjointed at times. But Alabama could lose to Ole Miss for 3 years in a row. Like, Ole Miss fans would just go crazy. This is the most important game on their schedule. Plain and simple. It's the most important game on their schedule, just from a fan perspective, because nothing would make the people down in Oxford more happy than beating Bama. Nothing at all. And then you've got East Carolina versus South Carolina, which I suppose has more meaning in Carolina. That's probably a pass for me. It's one of the games I'm really not interested in. New Mexico State at Kentucky. Kentucky looking for that win on the SEC Network alternate. Miss State versus LSU at 7. Interesting game, if not because LSU is trying to make their season look better. They're trying to make this look better. They ditched Brandon Harris a game ago. They're moving in a new direction. They started the guy from Purdue, the transfer from Purdue. And I think this game and the importance of it highlights kind of what a failure Brandon Harris has been on that team. But I've heard people giving Brandon Harris grief all week. Brandon Harris didn't develop. Brandon Harris didn't become what he should have been. And I agree. Brandon Harris did not become what he should have been. A guy with the size, the arm strength, the speed, and all the talent that Brandon Harris has should be a much better quarterback than he is. But you know what? It's hard to wonder if Brandon Harris's skill set would not have been better utilized by a different coach in a different offense. LSU's offense is boring. It's bland. It doesn't move. The receivers don't run deep routes. They don't open up the field. And here's the thing. You can't have receivers that don't run deep routes when your running back is Leonard Fournette. Because you know people have to stack the box to stop him anyway. They have to stack the box. The only team last year against LSU that didn't stack the box was Alabama. But Alabama had the talent to do that. Everybody else is bringing at least 8. If you used your receivers to run some deep patterns, and Brandon Harris can throw a deep ball, I will grant you this. He is not the most accurate guy. But I mean, you've got Leonard Fournette. You mean to tell me that nobody's going to bite on that play fake? You're kidding. You're out of your mind. You've got the guy with a strong enough arm to do it. The kid from Purdue came in, and it's not like he blew the doors off the gym. He came in, he played fine, right? 100 yards, touchdown. He was fine. He played an okay game. And that's what you're going to need. I think you just need a traditional pocket passer to run an LSU offense. You can't have a guy with mobility. That offense is not designed with any complexity or any wrinkles in it to take advantage of that mobility. So what is the point, really? You just wasted Brandon Harris's time and your own time by running that boring offense that doesn't do anything. And you're wasting Leonard Fournette's talent because you're not giving him any room to run because you don't run passing routes further than 15 yards downfield, it feels like. It's incredible. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I mean, I understand that you can blame Brandon Harris a little bit for what's happened here, but I don't think that you can completely overlook Les Miles. That offense is boring. Absolutely uncreative in every way. It's unremarkable, it's unimpressive, and Les Miles and LSU have been banking on the fact that you can't beat that defense for years. Defense and special teams, top-notch. Offense, not so much. It's just one of the more perplexing things in college football. You'd think after a few years of that really not working that we change some things up. Like, what if you got an offensive coordinator that actually tried, that actually opened up the field, or maybe allowed your current offensive coordinator to open up the field. What kinds of things could you do if you were LSU? Because you should have beaten Wisconsin. And you shouldn't have just beaten Wisconsin. Talent-wise, you had the talent on the field to beat Wisconsin bad. You did. Next on the schedule, also at 7 p.m., Texas A&M versus Auburn. Gus Malzahn continues to coach for his job after Gus Malzahn a week ago forgot, or to start the season, forgot he was coaching for his job. Gus Malzahn was out here with 3 quarterbacks running them all in and out. And he was talking about, well, obviously, we shouldn't have done that. You think, Gus? You think? Somebody stop this man. Somebody stop him. Please. I don't know what the deal is with Gus Malzahn, but this is a big game for him. If Gus Malzahn wants to keep his job, he's going to have to take down Texas A&M, Trevor Knight, and that offense. And good luck with that. Good luck with that, because that's a very tough offense to stop. And the way that Auburn is going this season, that's a tough offense for them to outscore. I mean, I don't know how well they're going to. And the whole point of having Gus Malzahn was, yeah, we're going to put points on the board. That's the whole point of Gus Malzahn. The entire point of his existence is that. And he's not doing it. I have no idea why he's still coaching for them, really. I understand, like, the buyout of his contract is kind of ridiculous. So you might as well let him coach so you don't have to figure out, like, how to fire him. But this season might turn out to be uglier for Auburn than we all thought. 7:30 North Texas at Florida. Florida probably going to beat North Texas. This game is probably not the most interesting game on the slate. Georgia at Missouri. Georgia looking to bounce back from that bizarre game against Nichols where they won 26-24. Really don't know how that game ended up to be that close. A team from the Southwest Conference. Really hanging around that hard. Couldn't get anything out of Nick Chubb. Really, in terms of getting the ball down the field, didn't have a ton of options outside of Isaiah McKenzie, who is turning out to be really cool and really, really good as a player. But you can't leave it all on him. That hardly seems fair. And, of course, the last game of Saturday is Texas State at Arkansas, which I expect Arkansas to win. I will probably tune into the post-game press conference to hear more delightful Brett Bielema quotes, because Brett Bielema is a really, really, really cool guy. And then, of course, LSU at Texas A&M on Thursday. So, Miss State and LSU play at 7 on Saturday. Texas A&M and Auburn play at 7 on Saturday, and then both teams will play each other Thursday night. LSU at Texas A&M. So if LSU somehow manages to right the ship against Miss State, they will have to take on Texas A&M. Which, again, I say good luck with that. That Texas A&M, if you want to find a sneaky pick to win the West, a sneaky good pick, which I don't know if it's sneaky anymore because that school looks really good. If you want a school to win the West that nobody is thinking about, I think now is still early enough in the season that you can hop on the bandwagon and say, you know what, I was there. I was on the Texas A&M train. Do that. Because A&M is going to be really good. And if they beat LSU on Thursday, and if they handle business against Auburn on Saturday, it'll be really hard to pick against that school just because of, first off, LSU being the school that a lot of people thought could win the West. It's hard to pick against Saban, but if you didn't pick Saban, you thought, well, this is the year LSU makes some strides, and LSU is proving to not be that school. And Alabama looks like they're struggling a little bit more than even they thought they would be. I know Nick Saban can be melodramatic and over the top, and oh, this is the worst game I've ever seen. And you know, you beat a team by like 20. I get it. But Nick Saban is, as I mentioned yesterday, is pointing out some legitimate problems with his team. They look a little disjointed. They haven't played anybody tough enough to make them pay for it. Yeah, Southern California, not good enough to make them pay for it. But when they do, I think Nick Saban's got a lot to be worried about. The defense looks fine. What doesn't look fine, really, is that offense. It's streaky. It's inconsistent. And it's you've got a freshman at the helm, so you're going to have those moments. You're Nick Saban. That's the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon, Rose. And I want to play, again, one of my favorite bits of audio from this week. Monday Night Football, Kevin Harlan, there was a streaker on the field, and this is my favorite piece of audio. Every week, I will try and track down a piece of audio that's just delightful. And this one is by far the best one. Kevin Harlan.
3rd and 4, looks into the nickel of San Francisco in the secondary. Hey, somebody has run out on the field. Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Here comes the blue coat.
Oh, they got him.
Here comes the blue coats.
Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line. Oh, that was the most exciting thing to happen tonight.
I tell you what, that was a great call on your part. That was a great call. All right, I'm ready for the last 11:31 now, Kevin. Let's go.
Look at the police. They've surrounded this man like he is, like he's just robbed a bank.
I tell you what, he got a whole lap in
before
they got him. I mean, that was pretty good. I expected him to.
I'm not going to lie. I want Kevin Harlan to narrate my life. I want Kevin Harlan to basically follow me everywhere and narrate all the things that are happening to me. I don't know exactly how I do it, but that man has got a gigantic vocabulary and finds a way to fit an incredible amount of words into a very small amount of space. If anyone's up for the job, it's Kevin Harlan. It's like a top 3 of people narrating your life. Kevin Harlan, because of all the reasons I just mentioned. Marv Albert, because he's a legend. And then, of course, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman because he's mellow, he's chill. He's going to bring a level of calm to your life that is beyond ridiculous and even unnecessary. You're listening to Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. I'll see you, not in 24 hours, but in 10 minutes. Stick around. 2 Millennials Talk. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
We've got a table here at Delia's, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. We're at Delia's in Stoddy Daisy near the Thrasher Light. There's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Not